Buongiorno a tutti e a tutte. Eh, io sono Marco Caselli e nella mia qualità di direttore del CeSI, il Centro di Ateneo per la Solidarietà Internazionale, vi do il benvenuto a questa prima tappa del programma Exponi le tue idee. Esponi le tue idee è un'iniziativa che è stata promossa dalla Onlus WeWorld nell'ambito del progetto dell'Unione Europea End Climate Change, Start a Climate of Change. Un'iniziativa che appunto come Centro di Ateneo siamo stati molto lieti di ospitare nella nostra università. Perché questa iniziativa? Brevemente, perché il Centro di Ateneo per la Solidarietà Internazionale tra i suoi diversi compiti ha quello di promuovere tra gli studenti e le studentesse del nostro Ateneo una vocazione per la solidarietà, una vocazione per l'apertura internazionale. E parlare di apertura in un periodo come questo, un periodo di lockdown, di chiusura, ci è sembrato molto importante. Certo, il lockdown non ci dà la possibilità di viaggiare, non ci dà o limita molto la possibilità di incontrarci fisicamente. E allora ci è sembrato veramente importante promuovere questa iniziativa che, sia pure attraverso i canali mediatici, i canali online, permette e stimola l'incontro tra gli studenti, stimola l'incontro con il pubblico interessato alle tematiche che andremo ad affrontare e ci costringe a riflettere su tematiche, su problemi che hanno una rilevanza globale, che va oltre lo steccato, il nostro contesto territoriale. Appunto il tema del cambiamento climatico e delle azioni che si possono fare per contrastare questo fenomeno e questa problematica. Un'iniziativa che permette anche lo scambio tra studenti di facoltà diverse e, dopo questa prima tappa che avviene a livello locale, studenti di università diverse nel nostro paese e poi, per i più bravi, il confronto anche con studenti di altri atenei. Allora volevo dare qualche numero rispetto alla fase locale di questa iniziativa, un'iniziativa che ha visto una risposta molto entusiasta, ma poi questo lo potrete vedere voi da parte dei nostri studenti. In gara, nelle 3 giorni di competizione, ci saranno infatti 8 squadre composte da 40 studenti che provengono da 19 corsi di laurea diversi e da 7 facoltà diverse del nostro Ateneo. Studenti quindi che hanno competenze diverse, ma che sono animati tutti dalla voglia di mettersi in gioco, di confrontarsi appunto su tematiche che hanno una rilevanza assolutamente trasversale. Prima allora di dare la parola ai nostri studenti che entreranno in gara, voglio fare qualche doveroso ringraziamento. Il ringraziamento innanzitutto a WeWorld per averci coinvolto in questa importante iniziativa e poi localmente a tutte le persone che con grande impegno l'hanno reso possibile, quindi senz'altro lo staff del Centro di Ateneo per la Solidarietà Internazionale, quindi in particolare Laura Bossini, Antonella Cassano e Giovanni Brambilla, la direzione comunicazione dell'Università per tutto il supporto tecnico anche in questo momento grazie alla sapiente regia e alla diffusione di questa iniziativa. E poi un grazie veramente molto particolare a 2 nostre studentesse che si sono appassionate, sono state coinvolte nella nostra iniziativa, Irene Pelucchi, che vedrete tra poco come moderatrice, e Giulia De Feudis, che sarà moderatrice nei prossimi incontri. E poi sicuramente il grazie più grande va no, dimenticavo che sennò loro si arrabbiano, i docenti che sono coinvolti nella loro funzione funzione di giudici dei dibattiti che verranno condotti e poi i nostri splendidi studenti e studentesse che vedrete tra pochissimo all'opera. Io penso che posso fermarmi qui e quindi do molto volentieri la parola a Irene Pelucchi che modererà questa giornata di intenso dibattito. Ciao Irene, buon lavoro a te e a tutti i nostri studenti e studentesse.
Thank you, Professor Caselli. Good afternoon to those who are watching this debate live on social platforms of Università Cattolica del Sacro Cuore. My name is Irene Pellucchi, and today I am the moderator of this first day of challenges between the teams formed by the students of our university. I would like to thank the Professor Caselli for his introduction, and I also want to thank the 3 members of the jury who are here with us to judge the following debates. It's a pleasure to introduce to teams and to the audience Professor Ilaria Beretta. Professor Ilaria Beretta is a professor at the Faculty of Political and Social Sciences. Professor Beretta is here as the representative also for the other 2 members of the jury who are following the debate in the backstage. Professor Paolo Scocai, professor at the Faculty of Agriculture, Food and Environmental Sciences, and Dr. Fulvio Fevola, alums of Università Cattolica, president of Associazione Master Agroalimentare. In the next hours, 8 teams will compete and only 4 of them will pass to the next stage of our competition. So I'm going to briefly sum up to the schedule of this first stage of the tournament, and then we can start with the first debate. In the first debate, we will see the pro team Exponiamo against the climate action in our mind. In the second debate, we will see Paris-Egg against As We Speak. In the third team, we can see MAMP Action Plan against 1987. And for the last debate, we will see the Talking Guest against Naturalmente. So now I think we can start with the first debate. The topic of this first challenge is international investments in agriculture. So I welcome to the pro team, the Exponiamo team, and on the other side, the con team, Climate Action in Our Mind. The captains will open the debate with an introduction, always starting with the pro team. And then the first and the second speaker will take part in the discussion. Teams, you know the rules, so good luck to all and may the best team win. I want to remind the topic of this first challenge is international investments in agriculture. So, captain of the pro team, Exponiamo team, you have 3 minutes, so the floor is yours. Please.
Thank you. I want to start my captain's speech with some data. Today on Earth, we can count 7.8 billion people, and in 2030, according to the UN, we will be 8.5 billion. The largest growth will be in Asia and Africa, just Africa will become the most populous continent with 2.2 billion people. So, in agreement with FAO, we can already see many signs of a food crisis. And we must say that food is one of the main causes of wars all around the planet, and more than 850 million people all around the world are undernourished. We are facing this situation and we cannot stand still. So the TFRA members have drawn one central conclusion, that food and nutrition security has become such a fundamental political, economical, and social security importance that it must be at the center of all future policy and planning. This is why we support the acquisition of large extension of land in middle-income countries by companies in high-income countries, and we think it's a good solution because in low-income countries and middle-income countries, a lot of resources are unused for various reasons. For first, governments do not invest in agriculture. They haven't any type of technological innovation as a second consequence. So, as a consequence, these countries have a lot of young people unemployed who are not able to use the enormous amount of arable lands they have in proper way, and they are dying of hunger as a consequence. Then, last but not least, they are in condition of subjection or non-existence, without the possibility to use their own resources and to spend time in new activities. More specifically, we promote the acquisition of large extension of land in low middle income countries, promoted by companies in high income countries that join the Oxfam project behind the brains. So all the most important food brands decided to join it, and above all customers' pressure. So these companies commit themselves to improve their social and environmental performance to promote sustainable working conditions. And the main items they have to work on are women, water, land, climate change, and small-scale farmers. In this way, these companies are trying to solve problems that local population seem not to care enough, such as exploitation of child labor, equal rights for women, and all of them. So this is a great opportunity, not only for the development, but also for the meeting of different cultures and societies and cooperating together in order to face difficulty more efficiently and to make the world a better place at the end.
Thank you very much. So please, Captain of the CON team, you have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Please, go.
Okay, so our colleagues have introduced their point of view, but in everything there are pros and cons that can be disagreed. We are the CAION team, and we are going to talk about the negative side of international investment in agriculture. Regarding these topics, the cons are very considerable. What are we talking about? Environment impact, violation of human rights with exploitation and colonization, loss of biodiversity, and also the hunger crisis. In this debate, we are going to focus on the problem of land grabbing on biofuels. Land grabbing can be considered one of the worst consequences of the international investment in agriculture. And this is important to underline the effect of subtraction of land, which always take the second place. They are deforestation, the utilization of the legal practice due to which many people have suffered by losing their home and the access to important resources such as water and roads. Biofuels is another important issue to which we must concentrate. Even if there is a prefix bio, it doesn't mean that they respect nature, climate, and people. In fact, their actual production has increased the hunger crisis, climate change, CO2 emissions, and the pauperization of natural resources. The consequence of these investments are a daily reality which affect the third world and the middle low income countries. During this debate, my teammates and I are going to discuss the issues of this matter, and we are going to enforce our thesis and the fact that international investments in agriculture are not as positive as they appear. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, the first speaker of the pro team, you have 3 minutes. Thank you, first speaker.
Hi.
Please.
You mentioned colonization, exploitation, and land grabbing. Well, we do not support any of these things. In fact, as what my captain said, we support the Oxfam project behind the brands. So colonization is another thing. Colonization is getting into the government of a country, and this does not happen in this case. So yeah, and also you said that people does not have the water and the food. Well, with this campaign, we give them everything. We give them water, we give them food, we give them the means to grow as a country, to become better and better, and to be greater with their economy. So, what do we promote? African governments, according with FAO, have the 70% of all arable land in the earth, but they use it only for the half of it. And in the wrong way too. In fact, the majority of that land is used for subsistence farming. So that means that those countries don't really invest in agriculture. Even after the 90s and 2000s efforts of the UN to make they invest in agriculture, there was no results. Now I'm gonna focus on technological innovation. Those low middle income countries do not have enough resources like money and skills to get that technological innovation that they need to do the step ahead. So what do? With this type of acquisition, with this type of investments, we take their innovation. High-income countries' companies take their innovation, but not only that, we also get there and teach them how to use it. And finally, the creation of jobs. You know, high-income countries have a positive impact on it because people live subsistence farming, and that means no salary, no retirement, no grants, no respect, no rights, and exploitation. And they go to another scenario where they have a welfare system, where they are protected by a welfare system, where they have rights, they have salary, they have everything they do not have now. We stand for this type of acquisition. We stand for Behind the Brands by Oxfam, with the aim of helping those countries, with the aim of making them better and better and better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So for the CAN team, the first speaker.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. 3 minutes for you.
Thank you. So when talking about international investments in agriculture, people often only look at the positive sides of it. My colleagues of the Pro side have mentioned how international investments give local farmers an active role in their land and how these investments leave farmers in control of their land. They also mentioned that these investments help countries of the third world or low-income countries to grow. But actually, these arguments only seem positive in appearance. But in fact, there are multiple negative consequences that regard these investments that I would now like to point out. First of all, by investing in agriculture in countries of the third world, such as Indonesia or South Africa and Brazil, we encounter serious problems such as land grabbing and forms of modern colonialism, which the Pro side said does not exist in these cases. But in the process of land grabbing, human rights are often violated, habitats get destroyed, and people often lose their jobs and do not get any jobs. Let us look at the example of palm oil. Due to palm oil plantations, more than 190,000 square kilometers of the rainforest and peatlands have disappeared worldwide, and this only in 2017. This is the size of Switzerland, 4 times bigger than Switzerland itself. Consequently, local inhabitants are left without a job, and we cannot state that they have control over the land. As a matter of fact, investments in agriculture and the following plantations, such as palm oil trees, are one of the main causes of deforestation as identified by the Agricultural Organization of the United Nations. Can we still define these investments as positive after this? I do not think so. Indonesian palm oil trees, for a fact, have taken over more than half of the area where the rainforest previously existed, putting our world and the inhabitants in danger. These statistics may seem far-fetched, but we encounter problems regarding the negative sides of international investments in agriculture on a daily basis. Everyone knows the firm Nestlé, which has their palm oil trees plantations in Indonesia. This firm has preached over years how sustainable their palm oil products were made. In truth, these products were not sustainable at all. According to the United Indonesian government audit, more than 80% of palm oil plantations were using illegal practices and were not in compliance with the standards of national sustainability. These practices cannot be tolerated anymore. We need to stop these investments, and we need to stop to make them look as something positive, because there are a lot of consequences that come from these investments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So now we can give a little break to the teams. So participants, you can coordinate with your team, you can rethink your strategy if you want to speak each other, if this is the case. In this first debate, we have seen two teams, Exponiamo team and Climate Action in Our Mind, challenging each other, debating about international investments in agriculture. This is Exponi, the debate contest promoted by WeWorld Onlus with the support of European Commission. And for this particular online edition, the themes are linked to the Sustainable Development Goals, known as the Global Goals, that were adopted by all United Nations members in 2015 as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030. Everyone is needed to reach this ambitious target. The creativity, know-how, technology, and financial resources from all society is necessary to achieve these SDGs in every context. So now the break, I think it's over, so we can come back with this debate and with our speakers, the second speaker of Exponiamo team, the Pro team, and the second speaker of the Con team. So, the second speaker of the Pro team, if you are ready. Okay, 3 minutes for you, please.
Yes. First of all, I want to clarify that the other team did not answer to our argument. They are talking about other arguments. We did not mention land grabbing as our argument. We are not sustaining and supporting land grabbing. Also, we are against land grabbing. In fact, land grabbing is really bad and is really bad consequences. We are supporting a precise model of acquisition, the same model proposed by Oxfam project behind the brands, and our captain said this. And I want to clarify this again because it's really important. This Oxfam project also had a lot of positive impacts. For example, the companies involved in it get better from their starting position from 5% in the items they have to work on. And these items are exploitation of child labor, women's rights, and also climate change, deforestation, and all these problems. Secondly, one of their main points was colonization, but we are not supporting colonization. Colonization means going, administrate some territories, some lands, but we are not promoting colonization. We are just promoting companies that are trying to help these low-income middle countries because they need technological innovation and money, a lot of money, in order to feed themselves first. Another example, in fact, of the really, really low percentage of investments in this country is in Malawi in 2004-2005. It's estimated that only the 5% of public expenditure was committed to agriculture, or in Tanzania, just the 6.6%, or in Ghana, nearly the 6%. So this country are not able to invest in agriculture. They don't have money, don't have government, don't have technology. And these companies are trying, with this model of acquisition, not land grabbing, with this model, to take them what they need in order to make the world a better place and to help each other cooperating. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The second speaker of the Con team, if you're ready.
Yes. As my colleague said before, generally people are used to see and show the positive side of things, but we have to focus on the negative side of this type of investment. We are talking about water, food, and help that big society are giving to middle low income countries and the third world countries. But we have to focus on what really happens there. I have two main examples to do in this case. One of is the case of Benetton Society, that is a huge brand known all over the world, but on their label and on their advertising, especially through Oliviero Toscani photographs, we can see a feeling of fraternity and equality among people from different parts of the world. But we don't know the reality, and we don't know that their business doesn't reflect this policy. We have to focus on that land grabbing is a very worst consequence of international investment in agriculture, and we have to focus on water and food, because in Benetton case, there is Benetton has denied the access to land, water, and important natural resources, which are a need for local people called Mapuche. So in addition, they have blocked the access to the most important roads with barbed wire, locked gates, and a constant surveillance. So why we should say that this type of investments in the medium and low income countries can help if they steal lands, deny the access to water, roads, and natural resources, forced to emigrate because Mapuche were obliged to leave their home, their land, to find a better place far away from home, and exploit the labor, because we all know that a lot of people can lose their job because of this huge society. So I don't think that my colleague looked always at the dark side that is hidden under the international investment in agriculture. So what we should know is to really reflect on it.
Thank you very much. We have just listened to the speakers of this team. They have argued very well. They have expressed very important points of these issues, even if the topic is not so simple, but both teams have made interesting argumentation and comments. Exponi le tue idee is an educational competition based on debate and discussion for students. Students' job is to explore and deepen the themes proposed that are related to global themes and current events, such as human rights, sustainability, development, environmental protection, inclusion, and migration. Exponi is something like an exercise to promote and support participation and active citizenship for students. Two teams will challenge in a debate, in fact, in which captains and speakers argue and defend their theses related to specific global themes. Only one team will be the winner, showing the value of his performance and argumentation. So students must prove and demonstrate their ability, their capacity, and also their skills. So now the break is over, so we can come back to the debate, and we can start with the free debate. So before you speak, guys, please introduce yourself.
Okay, can I speak?
Yes.
Hello, I am the first speaker of the CON-site, the group Climate Action in Our Mind. And I wanted to say the pro-side have mentioned that they are not promoting colonialism and land grabbing, which I thought was sure. But just because they're not promoting this, it doesn't mean that this is a reality that doesn't exist. We have to talk about it, because when talking about international investments in agriculture, this is one of the biggest consequences. You also mentioned that by investing in countries of development, you give farmers an active role, you give people a job, and they have power to innovate their countries. But actually, if we analyze the situation closely, we can for sure recognize that investors do not decide to establish their plantations in these countries to help them out from an economic point of view, but they do it for their own good and to have multiple advantages of it. For example, many European investors from countries such as Belgium, Italy, Germany, the Netherlands, France, and Spain plant their trees, palm oil trees or other trees, in countries of development outside of the EU, because in those countries they can make use of pesticides, for example, that are not allowed in the UE. Countries like Brazil, South Africa, and Ukraine are allowed to use those pesticides. And as a consequence, more than 200,000 people die in these countries every year due to pesticide poisoning. This statistic was confirmed by a research of the United Nations in 2020. Only in Brazil, 20% of pesticides worldwide are used, putting the population and the inhabitants in danger. These are all consequences coming from international investments. We are well aware that you don't promote colonialism, you don't promote the violation of human rights. But as a matter of fact, if we look at this situation, these are all realities that exist on a daily basis, and we cannot ignore them anymore. So we need to act now.
Okay, I am the second speaker of the pro team, and I'll try to answer your question, even if you argumentate. Now, I want to rebuttal that for first, we are not promoting land grabbing, and land grabbing is not the consequence of Oxfam project. And we also take you some data about the consequences of Oxfam project, and the companies make better and better. In 10-15%, they get better from their starting position in the items of human rights, rights for women, child labor exploitation, climate change, water, and all these important items in our world. So if you took some examples of land grabbing, this is not against our argumentation. In fact, the consequence of our project, of the model promoted by us, it's not land grabbing. It's a model of acquisition far, really far from land grabbing. And I want to clarify this once more.
Can I speak?
Yes.
I'm the second speaker of the team Kayom, and I want to try to understand, because you said that you are not again with land grabbing, but this is a possible consequence of international investment in agriculture. So we have to take it in consideration, because it's a terrible consequence that can happen. So I would like to make an example and use a quote from the Marco De Ponte, that is the General Secretary of the ActionAid, in order to answer about food. Marco Ponte said, the land product which have been used in 2008 to produce biofuels could have fed 127 million of people, reducing hunger in the world by nearly 15%. So it's a huge data and a huge statistic that we have to take into consideration.
Yes, maybe this data and this statistic have to be in your argumentation, not later. But I want to clarify once more that the example has to be on our argument, not on other things. Investment in agriculture in general, may be land grabbing, but we're not talking about this. We are supporting a particular type of investment, and we want to make it more and more and more in order to make this work better. And I want to ask you something. I want to ask you, in which way you want to make these countries better in economical, social, and environmental policy? In which way, if you do not support our solution, in which way you want to do this?
Okay, first of all, thank you for the points you have mentioned, and I will try now to respond to your very interesting questions. I want to start by saying that the only argument you really mentioned was the one of the Oxfam project, We recognize that this is an initiative that wants to help people in countries of development and wants to try to help them be better in an economic and in a social point of view. But still, there are other ways we can help people that live in these countries, not only by investing in agriculture, but maybe by investing in education and investing in other initiatives in these countries. I will now not go further in this thematic because it's not what we are discussing today. What we are discussing today are international investments in agriculture, and we should focus on all the sides that these investments have. In fact, there are a lot of negative sides that we have mentioned. You asked what a possible solution were. I offered you one, but I could offer you one more. If we want to do plantations and do plant, for example, trees or other in countries of development, we should not really plant by expansion because we would destroy land such as the rainforest, but there are other solutions that I would now love to propose. For example, the solution of vertical agriculture. By using vertical agriculture, people do not expand their plantations by land, but they build houses where these plantations can be made using less hectares. And this would be a solution so that we cannot grab land. And I enforce this land grabbing another time because it's really something that is affecting our world, and it will continuously affect our world if we do not do something now.
Okay,
Well,
I'm sorry.
Go
First, I
ahead.
want to underline that the argument were investments in low middle income countries. So we need to consider it. Secondly, we need a solution now, because as I said in my captain's speech, in 2030 will be 8.5 billion. So we need to feed everybody in an economical and sustainable way. At the same time, we can make these low-income countries at the same level of our countries, of our cultures, of our societies, and of our respect for work, for women, for all these fantastic things. We can do this just promoting our solution. We can do this promoting our solution. We can help everybody at the same time in this moment that is really important for us, because time is late and this solution is yet inactive. Why don't you support it?
I do not agree.
Thank you, guys. The time is over. So thank you very much.
Thank you
For your debate. So we have just listened to the two teams' debate, the full team with the speakers and the captain. After these few minutes, we will see the two teams come back, and each team will express with their captain the final speech in order to end this first challenge. Exponi competition, born in 2014-2015, and for this particular online edition 2020, the debate is linked to European project and climate change, Start Climate of Change, in which WeWorld Onlus is the front runner with 16 European organizations and financed by European Commission as a part of a big project, DEAR program, Development, Education and Awareness Rising program. This kind of initiative, like Exponi, wants to force and encourage students to consider important phenomena like sustainability, climate change, and migration. It wants to create a very important movement of informed people ready to change their lifestyles and also ready to ask politicians to change their policy. So now we can come back to our teams. So now the captains can be ready to do their conclusive speech in front of the jury in order to end this challenge. So, captain of the pro team, if you are ready.
Thank you.
Please.
I want to start with my conclusions. So now I'm here to sum up this debate that was on a really important theme. We need a solution now, as I just said, before it's too late. And the solution we are supporting, as I said, is yet inactive, and is one promoted by Oxfam project Behind the Brains. It's a solution that brings a winning to everybody. With our solution, we invest in agriculture and in the potential resources the low middle income countries have but are not able to use. So we bring technological innovation in these countries and we teach them how to operate them. We create jobs, we create better working and social conditions for the local population, giving them the chance to get out of their non-existent condition by spreading this culture that respects work. So we discussed about a lot of important themes, and I heard from the other team some new themes like land grabbing that, as we just said, we do not support, and our argument is completely different, is deeply different, and colonization, our argument is deeply different also in this. And I also heard some new themes, and I don't think it can be made, like education, vertical, agriculture, which they didn't mention before. So they didn't bring a solution. We bring our solution. Our solution is yet in act. Our solution will be the solution of the future if we accept this for everybody, for the low-income countries and for the high-income countries, in order to feed everybody in an economical and sustainable way. So in this way, we're spreading a really important values of international cooperation, solidarity, and respect for work, for people, and salvaguarding rights. So our position supports the acquisition of large extension of land in countries where governments wouldn't be able to efficiently exploit them. And these investments will bring to better working and living conditions to every category in order to make the world a better place now, before it's too late.
Thank you very much. The captain of the CON team, if you are ready.
I'm ready.
3 minutes for you.
Thank you. So, dear colleagues, we have now come to the end of our lively and very interesting debate. I would like to thank everyone for participating and offering very important points for our debates. This debate has pointed out the negative consequence of international investment in agriculture. My teammates have mentioned how negative these investments can be by naming consequences such as land grabbing, modern colonialism, that they exist. I'm sorry to say to the Exponi team that they exist because you are thinking only about your personal interest in economics. Also, use of pesticide, loss of homes and resources, and many more. They have presented all the arguments by mentioning important examples of famous brands like Nestlé and Benetton, brand that we encounter every day. We were able to also offer a solution like vertical agriculture that would not destroy and grab land like the one of the rainforest, whereas the arguments of the other side were much more inefficient. We demand to our judges to consider and to think about all the arguments that team has brought up. We cannot tolerate this reality of brutal, because they are brutal investments. They are destroying our world and murdering the inhabitants. 200,000 people every year. They're a lot. How can this be accepted? Why does no one do something against it? This is because many people ignore the negative reality to look at the bright side of things, just as our colleagues did. We must act now. Climate change in our mind, always. There is nothing more to add except that these are good things, but done in a bad way. We are not saying that the investment in agriculture are bad, but they can be do better, probably. And we are trying to say a solution. This has to change immediately. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. So thank you, captains. Thank you to all the participants. You made a very great debate. So now I think I can let time to the jury to judge the two teams and decide which is the best performance. So thank you very much. We will be back in a few minutes with the winner of this first challenge.
I'm Alessia Silipigni. I'm a student at the Faculty of Political and Social Science. I debate because I think that this could be not only a great way to express your personal opinion, but also a great opportunity to share your ideas with others. Actually, I strongly believe that ideas can be improved if questioned and tested. And for this reason, I debate, most of all, because I would like to consider things from another point of view.
I'm Enrico Fedele. I'm a student at the Faculty of Economics, and I debate because I believe that debating is a very close friend of progress and is the only way that we can find solutions together.
My name is Florian Seiko, and I'm a student of economics. The faculty that I attend is the International Management faculty, and I study at Piacenza University of Sacro Cuore, Cattolica University, to be more precise. I want to debate, and I like to debate, because I think that in order to find some solution to the complex problems that our society is facing today and in these days, so we have the problems related to the, for example, COVID-19, which is more present nowadays. We have the problems related to the environment. So all of these problems require complex and difficult solution, and you cannot achieve those solutions without dialogue and without debate. Every truth that you have to achieve might be also on your opponent's side, so on the side of the person that you do not agree in the beginning. So the importance of having a dialogue, the importance of debating, the importance of challenging your ideas and the ideas of the others are really, really, really necessary in order to achieve the best solution possible, and why not the truth? And that's why I want to debate, and that's why I like debating.
Sono Marta Agostinoni e frequento la facoltà di Economia e Gestione Aziendale. Dibatto perché sono convinta che noi giovani dobbiamo affrontare oggi questi problemi, poiché nel prossimo futuro saremo noi a dover intervenire per gestire questa realtà. Sta a noi infatti informarci e conoscerli ora, per poi un domani conviverci in modo resiliente.
Ciao, sono Francesco Morici, sono iscritto al secondo anno di Scienze Politiche e Relazioni Internazionali e dibatto perché voglio approfondire i temi importanti della nostra società ascoltando le opinioni degli altri e cercando di costruire una discussione concreta e non polemica.
Mi chiamo Valentina Galli, frequento la facoltà di Scienze Politiche e Sociali dell'Università Cattolica e dibatto perché dibattere per me è passione, è confronto ed è crescita con gli altri.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all. You all worked very well. It wasn't easy to decide, but in the end, me and my colleagues, Paolo Scoccai and Fulvio Fevola, we decided that the winner is Teams Pro. Exponiamo. Congratulations, and you all worked very well. Really, congratulations. Bye.
So congratulations, Exponiamo team, you are going to the next stage of the debate. We are sorry, Kayom, you made a very great debate, you did your best, so to all of you, our compliments. So thank you very much to all those who watched this first debate. In a few minutes, we will be back for the second challenge of this first day of Exponi. Thank you very much and good afternoon. Good afternoon to those who are watching this debate live on social platforms of Università Cattolica del Sacro Cuore. Now we are here for the second challenge of Exponi. I would like to thank the 3 members of the jury who are here with us to judge the following debates. It's a pleasure to introduce to the teams and to the audience Professor Ilaria Beretta, professor at the Faculty of Political and Social Sciences. Professor Beretta is here as the representative also for the other 2 members of the jury who are following the debate in the backstage. Professor Paolo Scocai, professor at the Faculty of Agriculture, Food and Environmental Sciences, and Dr. Fulvio Fevola, alums of Università Cattolica, president of Associazione Master Agroalimentare. The 2 teams for the second challenge are Pariseg against As We Speak. So, I think we can start for the second debate. The topic of this second challenge is Water as Common Good, Public or Private Management. I welcome the pro team, the Pariseg, and on the other side, the con team, As We Speak. So, the captains will open the debate, starting always with the pro team. Then the first and the second speaker will take part in the discussion. So teams, you know the rules. Good luck and may the best team win. I want to remind the topic, water as common good, public or private management. So, captain of the pro team, if you are ready.
Hello everyone. Fellow debaters and honorable jury and moderator. The Pariseg team is proud to be here to discuss such an important and interesting topic. We are living in strange times with hard issues to tackle such as pandemics, financial and climate crisis. Moreover, developing countries are always the most vulnerable to these agonic matters, mainly when they are involved in the global market. We need water, and we need to ensure the availability and sustainable management of water sanitation for all, as the 6 Sustainable Development Goal states. We need a right and a liquid system for it, and it would be a beautiful dream for us to see such a gigantic public water system with pipes, connecting each human being, improving survival and much more. But, you know, utopia is only a fantasy book written by Thomas More in the 16th century. We strongly believe, and my team would state that, the privatization of the management of water services is the best choice for our planet and for the people, because it creates more opportunities to build efficiencies into the system. It helps with water savings. It supports democracies over tyrannies by reducing political influences. It ensures that developing countries are able to build water infrastructures that otherwise would not have. It leads to infrastructure investments, and for this reason, it improves the quality of water. Proponents of privatization cite one of the main advantages as increased efficiency of the private sector compared to the public sector, which will lead to the improved water distribution. This, along with other cost-saving measures, will result in lower bills for customers, outsourcing water management to private entities, and will also make it possible to divide maintenance costs of the water mains network between different companies. Thank you. I'll leave the floor.
Thank you very much. So, the captain of the con team, if you are ready.
Yes.
3 minutes for you.
Hello, everybody. So, let's get some facts straight. 80% of our planet is covered by water. But do you know what percentage of that amount is drinkable? 1%. You will, as me, recognize that we're talking about real small amounts of water available and a population that still grows exponentially. How can we be sure that this precious and extremely essential good is properly distributed? A corporation itself is based on empathizing the profitability, otherwise there would be no profit agencies. We're talking about leaving this responsibility to private water corporations that are primarily accountable to their stockholders, of course, not the people that they serve. And who are they serving? They're serving you guys, me, our families and friends and neighbors. Can we rationally make this even a bit about money? Can we risk a conflict between a set of criteria of a corporation instead of the public service of the city? The UN Assembly has formulated a resolution number 6463 in which they underline the fact that 884 million of people do not have access to drinkable water and the importance of an equal distribution of that same good. The thing that we find more interesting and significant for us today is the fact that the Assembly clearly requires that all states and international organizations offer financial resources, competencies, and technologies through assistance and international cooperation to increase the efforts to provide safe and drinkable water and services for everyone. This is a public matter of health. Why would our hospitals be publicly managed but not our access to water? Are we sure it is a good idea to put money in the middle of a health matter? Who tries to make water funding completely public believe that we should achieve completely equal prices and absolutely no profit from it. Water sector must be removed from the market. And let's try and have a journey into an hypothetical future world in which the water sector assumes characteristics of a monopoly. It becomes practice for private to deal with the water system, and the dire consequence of that is that this good switches from a common one to almost a luxury one. And every awful story you heard coming from the US about people losing their houses over a medical bill will become a daily routine. How would you feel being in a world in which people struggle for a glass of water, for a hot shower, for a tea in the morning? Why would we reject the idea of healthcare being private, but we don't feel the same about our access to water? In this brief intervention, the team, as we speak, will try and bring you into a journey of its own, to an equal, democratic, and ethically deep world, which we hope it can be in a reality soon in more and more countries. Francisca, as our first speaker, will bring to light some economical aspects of today's topic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now the first speaker of the Pro team, if you're ready, 3 minutes for you, please.
Thank you very much. Fellow debaters and honorable jury, the orator one is proud to be here to discuss such an important topic as the water system in our society. I would thank the captain of the position. There were beautiful words, and it would be a pleasure for me to answer to all these questions. But I think the captain should listen to this because it's more effective. So, public water system in a lot of developing countries is not working at all due to the fact people cannot afford to pay taxes. Examples: Brazil, Nigeria, Eritrea is the most affected with an 80.7% lack of basic water services. While in Gabon, which gets privatization, there is a 20% lack of basic water system. With privatization of the water system and a strong collaboration with the local governments, these people could more easily afford water supply thanks to accessible prices based on the revenue of the single nuclear family. This is just an example, but there are more specific methods. But now let's talk about the reasons our minds have preferred the privatization to the public system. 4 main reasons why we can prove the public system can be an economic loss to different societies and consequently to the people. Firstly, the few investments in water system infrastructure causing deterioration. Deteriorated infrastructures bring to low quality of water, loss of clean fresh water, and heavy supplemental costs. Secondly, low quality of tap water causing health problems, a perfect way to spread diseases and virus. COVID-19 is the most famous one, but only a micropart. 3. The magic number. Dictatorships and military regimes managing water, they control the citizens. By blocking the access of it, they usually make a massacre of innocents. Can you imagine this? The last, but not the least, the affordability of developing countries to pay for a basic water system. Imagine, the city of Denver is planning to pay $1.5 million investment for its water system supply, a city with 1.5 million people. Comparing to the GDP of South Sudan, $1 billion. Listen to this, $1 billion. A nation of 13 million people. How could you think these people could achieve a tenth of this amount of money? With privatization, the human right of water can be achieved, and faster, because time is important to save as many lives as possible. These previous points put together, or only one of them, are the perfect cocktail for the water scarcity we're facing. If we had the lowering of responsibility and using water by the public systems, by the public managing, because we have to be precise, not as the opposition side has been. If we had the lowering responsibility, as my captain said before, with scarcity, we will certainly have death and chaos. Thank you for your attention. I leave the floor.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. So the first speaker of the CON team, if you're ready. Please go.
About what my colleague from the other team said, I'll have to totally disagree with that. I will explain my position with my speech. We have previously analyzed how, from an ethical point of view, water cannot be managed in a private way. We shall now examine the economical perspective of this analysis. Water privatization is often suggested as a solution to municipal budget problems and aging water systems. Unfortunately, this more often backfires, leaving communities with higher rates. The goal of the corporation is to make profits from the service that they engage. And so, for a matter of logic, if the goal is profit itself, the more the merrier. So, the corporation will try and increase the percentage of their financial gain. But how can they do that? There are three easy ways to increase the profit margins that we all know. First of all, reviewing current pricing structure. Secondly, reducing the resources. And at the end, reducing the overheads. These three aspects cause a lower quality of the service and a price rise of the service. And you have to remember that every private company strives for an economical growth and profit increase. So at least one of the three hypotheses will eventually occur. In each one of these cases, the consumers are damaged. Furthermore, a public operation saves money. It's cheaper and it improves customer service. In this way, public management provides only the necessary costs, for example, labor, without paying extra services charges. A review from 80 municipalities did by the Food and Water ONG that tendered their contracts with private corporations found out that public operations average 21% cheaper than private operations of water and sewer services. From the 80s and until the first years of the new millennium, privatization of local services was the prevalent policy. Instead, in the last decade, municipalization has become the policy issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Now we can give a little break to the teams. So participants, you can coordinate with your team. You can rethink and reconsider your strategy if this is the case. We have seen in this debate the two teams, Parisec against As We Speak, challenging each other, debating about water as common good, public or private management. This is Exponi, the debate contest promoted by WeWorld Onlus with the support of the European Commission. For this particular year, the themes are linked to the Sustainable Development Goals, known as the Global Goals that were adopted by all United Nations members in 2015 as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030. Everyone is needed to reach this ambitious target. The creativity, know-how, knowledge, technology, and financial resources from all society is necessary to achieve the SDGs in every kind of context. So I think the break is over, so we can come back to this first turn of challenges in Exponi le tue idee. The second speaker of the pro team, Parisec.
Thank you.
Please.
Good afternoon, fellow debaters and honorable jury. I'd like to start by saying that I partially agree with what the other team stated. In fact, I think that water should always be considered a common good, and as such shouldn't be owned by any private company. But I'd also like to point out how the point of this debate is not to discuss ownership of water, but management of its infrastructure. And a state can very well be the owner of water resources while delegating the management of infrastructure to private companies, delegating activities such as pumping or distributing water among the population, and can keep control of these companies through public contracts. First of all, I'd like to point out how such contracts can be a useful instrument to prevent one of the risks the other team cited. Public contracts can require certain prices not to be surpassed, therefore preventing the risk of fares exceeding the economic possibilities of lower social groups, of lower income social groups. On the other hand, I would also like to point out how, in some cases, a public management could keep prices lower than how a private management could. But this might be a risk, since government could keep prices so low for propagandistic purposes, for example, that the user would be incentivized to waste more water than the amount he actually needs. And we all know how water waste is one of the main issues regarding water crisis. Therefore, I think that public contracts can prevent the excessive increase of prices, and in some cases, the slight or higher prices operating in private management system can be useful to prevent water waste. On the other hand, I would also like to point out how it's true that private companies aren't accountable before the population, but they are accountable before the government. Therefore, if the government requires certain qualitative standards to be met, menacing the revoking of concession whenever they aren't met, the companies are accountable before the government and will be incentivized to assure that the qualitative standards that allow them to keep the concession and keep profiting from the management of water resources are met. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The second speaker of the CAN team, if you're ready, 3 minutes for you, please.
So the question that comes to your mind when you hear about the proposition team is basically how. And it comes to your mind because you do not have a clear idea of how their statement are linked to the topic that we're discussing today. But let's start with the proposition one, which is the captain. So she defined our main idea as a utopia, but how can you define a utopia on something that already happens in a lot of states in the world? So this is not a utopia, it happens, and it works actually, as the second speaker of our team said. But it said that the private owning is the best choice by saying that water savings are better, but you mean money saving or water saving, but both of those two things are not true because you didn't explain how these things are true. Money, no, it's not. The second speaker said that basically the public owned used to save more money, so you are likely to save more money. And the water savings, okay, you stated it, but you didn't explain how this should work. Improves democracies, again, how it happens, it isn't clear, not by having private companies going in tyrannical democracies or tyrannical dictatorships. This can improve in some ways the democracies, but again, we miss the link of the thing. And improves quality, but then again, we already explained that being in a market which is the market monopoly, which is the market of water, you cannot achieve a better quality. In fact, without competition, and water is not a market of perfect competition, it is a monopoly, you will not achieve not lower prices, you will not achieve not best quality, you will not achieve anything. And that's why it is important to have a publicly owned management, both owned and both managed by the public itself. And then again, we came to the point of efficiency, right? That it isn't again clear how the efficiency will improve in a market that is a monopoly. And I'll come to this and I'll elaborate on this more. If it is a monopoly, the companies that already have the good does not have to care about the quality of the good because they all have the market already, right? So they do not have to have more efficiency, more quality and stuff. So number two, the first part of the first speaker, the second speech of the proposition team basically explained the consequences of poor quality water, but I mean, he didn't explain to us why this is in any ways linked to the publicly owned water. It can also be private owned water. It depends on the quality of the water, not on who owns it. And the second was a point of affordability, right? You need a lot of money to have good water. And he said the privates have this type of money, which is true. But what privates also want is the return of investment. So if they give money, they want it back, and they want more back to make the investment logically matter. So then again, this might increase the prices of the water. And what the last speaker said, which had only to rebuttal but didn't, he added on some points, and it wasn't really clear what the position had, because he said that the water can also be owned by the public but have to be managed, in contradiction to what the second speaker said. So then again, that's why we proudly stand on publicly owned and managed water. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We have listened to the speaker of each team. They argued very well, and they have expressed very important points of this issue, even if it's not so easy, so simple. But both teams have made interesting argumentation and interesting comments. Exponi le tue idee is an educational competition based on debate and discussion for students. Students' job is to explore and deepen the themes proposed that are related to global themes and current events, such as human rights, sustainability, development, environmental protection, migration, and inclusion. Exponi is also an exercise to promote and support participation and active citizenship for students and professors. Two teams are challenging in a debate in which captains and speakers argue and defend their position related to a specific global theme. Only one team will be the winner, showing the value of his performance and argumentation. So students have to prove and demonstrate their ability, capacity, and their specific skills. So now we can come back to the themes, to the challenge. So the break is over. And now we can start with the free debate. So the themes, if you are ready, before you speak, please introduce yourself. Please. We cannot listen.
Now can you hear me?
Okay, perfect.
Okay, I'm the author one of the Pro Team Parisag. Okay, I would like to, yes, we have listened to a lot of information, and it's great. But I would like to ask you something else, because the APA, the Environmental Protection Agency of the United States, affirmed in a 2020 report that in the last 3 semesters, the cities with cities administration managing water system, public, has dropped efficiency by 10%, and the rest administered by private companies has shown instead an increase about 6% during the pandemic, so the worst time. So I would like to ask you why this, and why the rich country like Greece, like Serbia, like other developed countries are moving to privatization, and also African ones. Thank you.
Yes, sure. I can give you an answer to all of these questions. But firstly, I have to explain the report that you brought to our attention. All right, you can give us an example of a report, and we can give to you as proposition team a report too. We have, as second speaker said, as the second speaker, which is the first speaker of our team said, there is the Food and Watch report of 2012 that explained why efficiency is down in private-owned water systems. But then again, we are not talking about giving lists of examples. We gave to the judges the explanation on why this happens, which you didn't. You only stating the statistics. But we explained to you that the efficiency drops because the water market is a monopoly, right? And if you are acting and behaving in a monopoly, you do not have to have all the efficiency inside because you already have all the market. And this is what really happens. And to address the examples that you again said, we had the examples of Greece and Serbia, which you can define as developed countries, but it is like a really clear statement, because they can also be defined as developing countries, seeing their GDP. For example, we have the GDP of Greece. We had the economical crisis of Greece, which didn't have a lot of budgeting possibilities in the country. And then you had the example of Africa, that is basically not a developed country, not a developed continent, as you might know. But then again, we explained to you why. We already did explain to you why the efficiency drops in a logical term in our speeches. So you might listen more carefully this time. Thank you.
You didn't answer, but thank you.
I did. Thank you.
May I? I am the orator 2 of the Pro team, and I'd like to point out how you said that public management systems are more likely to produce better qualitative performances. But I have some Instat data right here that mention how in Italy, which is a country where the majority of water systems are managed by the public, there are up to 40% of leaks from aqueducts. While in France, where the majority of water systems are managed by private companies such as Veolia, the leaks are about 20%. Therefore, I think that these statistics show that it's not necessarily true that public management systems offer better qualitative performances. Thank you.
Yes, I would like, that's actually what I wanted to point out about your previous speech. You talked about how owning and managing water should be two different topics. But I mean, isn't that the point? We're talking about quality, right? You want to know how can we be sure that quality increases with private managing? How can you be sure it doesn't drop? Just for a matter of logic, if you're letting a corporation dealing with something that is actually a human right, like health, as I was saying in my previous speech, how can you be sure that they're not going to find an easier or cheaper way to make profit? How can we be sure that they will stick to quality? They don't have the moral basis to do that. We can't be 100% sure that they're going to follow our interests, like mine and yours, instead of theirs, which is probably, as a matter of logic, what's actually going to happen in reality. And that's what my colleague Francisca was saying also. There's a big difference here. It's a matter of logic, not data. We can never be sure that quality is not going to drop when we let someone that has other interests that are not quality, because it's not quality, it's profits, and that's a fact. We can't be sure that they're going to follow and stick to our rules or to our interests. That's a matter of logic, I believe.
So, are you aware of the fact that you are comparing the water workers in the private companies as demons? Telling this? I'm not aware of this. I don't understand. But anyway, how could you think that countries like South Sudan with $1 billion GDP could achieve to $1.5 billion of the water system that there is in Denver? It's impossible. With a multinational, we can do this. And then when we talk about private management, we don't talk about monopolies. We talk about also this, but in different countries. We have to be more precise, more specific in the case and in the current situation we're facing now. Then I will tell you that it's doing well in a lot of countries. Yes, it's doing bad in different parts of the world, but not for a problem of distribution or managing, but a people problem, like in the public societies. I would to say that in Congo, some communities cannot cannot afford to the water public services because some governance tell that they can't because they are from another ethnic group. It's not right, and it's public. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll get this one if you don't mind. Firstly, you were the first person to define those people demons. We didn't do that. We just said that as a normal private company, it will strive for a profit, which is kind of normal, and it's the basis of economics. So then again, if you say that you have the right or maybe the faculty to decide whether a market you are behaving in is or not is a monopoly, you are again wrong, because you cannot decide whether a market is or is not a monopoly, and the word market is a monopoly by definition, right? So, and then again, you gave us again some examples. And you could say normally that those countries cannot afford big investments in water, but you also have to say that if these investments come from privates, you have the risk of even getting more people not getting the water, right? Because again, the people and the management, which is private, wants a return of investment. So you can propose a different model, but you didn't, right? You didn't propose a different model. We just say that our model is the best that we can want, the best that we should want.
So thank you very much, guys. The time is over. So we have just listened to two teams debate, the full team with his speakers and the captains. After these few minutes, we will see the two teams come back, and each team will express with the captain the final speech in order to end this challenge. Exponi competition is born in 2014 to 2015, and for this online edition 2020, the debate is linked to European project and climate change, start climate of change, in which WeWorld is the front runner with other 16 European organizations financed by European Commission as a part of a big project, the DEAR program, Development, Education and Awareness Rising program. This kind of initiative, like Exponi, wants to encourage and force students to consider important phenomena like migration, climate change, and sustainability, and wants to create a movement of informed people ready to change their lifestyle and ready to ask politicians to change their policy. So now the break is over, so we can start with the final speech of our captains for the jury. So please welcome back to the debate. Now the captains, if you are ready. The captain of the pro team, please go.
With this debate, we understood that privatization of the management of the water system is important not only for the economy, but mostly for the people. We believe that. As we speak team have pointed out that privatization denies the availability of water, it increases the prices of water, and the accountability of the companies is not good. Well, we're still convinced that we gave all the reasons why, that the privatization of water decreases the impact that the water system has on the economy and on the scarcity of water caused by the excessive consumption of common good when it's public. For example, in South Africa. The CON team, we believe, hasn't correctly answered to this issue, proposing in an efficient and incoherent way the resolution to this problem, which instead my colleagues did before with our points that deal effectively with the current economic and social situation that we're facing. And we, as we said before, proponents of privatization cite one of the main advantages is increased efficiency of the private sector compared to the public one, which will lead to improved water distribution and management. This, along with other cost-saving measures, will result in lower bills for customers and for the people. Outsourcing water management to private entities will also make it possible to divide maintenance costs of the water mains network between different companies. So this will also help the people. We absolutely have shown that the other team and to the jury greater possibilities to achieve the 6th SDG with privatization of the water system. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So, Captain of the CON team, if you're ready, 3 minutes for you. Please.
Thank you. So, as we see it, we got two words here that we just described. In our world, in the world we care to describe you here today, water is not about profits. Water and financial gains are two completely different spheres, which we strongly believe should not be related, not in the sense that the other team here explained to us. And then there is this other world, in which the management of one of the most basic human rights is led by a corporation which has monetary purposes. This corporation deals with the water system for its profitability. So logically, the moment this company finds a more solvent field in which they can actually make more money, there is no certainty they won't stop dealing with the water system. They probably will, just because it's its nature to try and increase profits. It does not matter in how many ways it's convenient for them to maintain quality. The point here is what moral cause we want to put beside these kind of matters. We cannot make up a bunch of excuses to justify the earning from human rights that are today not guaranteed to everyone. But let's go back for a minute and let's recap what has been said in this nice debate. So as we see it, as my team sees it, you underlined many statistics, but less facts. And you care to tell us many times that this is not a monopoly. It actually is. This is a monopoly usually. So the company does not have interest to maintain quality because it is actually a monopoly. So they have it anyway. They don't need to maintain quality most of the times. And let's say this works. Let's say your idea works and this actually increased the quality of the service, which is great. It's good. We all love it. The fee rise will for sure exclude someone from the process. Someone will not be able to pay for it anymore and will be left out. And this can't happen. Not even to one single person. It actually can be you or your family. We cannot even take the risk of that happening, not in 2020. And you know what? Our system may fail. We know that. We live and act in the real world and we know there is no such thing as an infallible system. We're not here to sell you that. But you know what? One thing is for sure, we may fail, but it will not be because we didn't want this to make the right way. It will not be because we didn't want this bad enough. And it will not be because we didn't want to fight for an equal democratic distribution of a good that itself means dignity and survival. We want to make this right accessible to each and every one of us, no matter which neighborhood we live in or our wealth. We believe intentions are what build the path that we follow. We can't be sure of anything else but the real goal of this company. And right now, the goal is the money. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So thank you, captains. Thank you to all participants. You made a very great debate. And now I think it's time to let the jury judge the two teams and the two performances. So thank you very much. We will be back in a few minutes with the winner of this challenge. Thank you.
I'm Alessia Silipigni. I'm a student at the Faculty of Political and Social Science. I debate because I think that this could be not only a great way to express your personal opinion, but also a great opportunity to share your ideas with others. Actually, I strongly believe that ideas can be improved if questioned and tested. And for this reason, I debate, most of all, because I would like to consider things from another point of view.
Ciao, sono Francesco Morici, sono iscritto al secondo anno di Scienze Politiche e Relazioni Internazionali e dibatto perché voglio approfondire i temi importanti della nostra società ascoltando le opinioni degli altri e cercando di costruire una discussione concreta e non polemica.
My name is Florian Seiko, and I'm a student of economics. The faculty that I attend is the International Management faculty, and I study at Piacenza University of Sacro Cuore, Cattolica University, to be more precise. I want to debate, and I like to debate, because I think that in order to find some solution to the complex problems that our society is facing today and in these days, so we have the problems related to for example, COVID-19, which is more present nowadays. We have the problems related to the environment. So all of these problems require complex and difficult solution, and you cannot achieve those solutions without dialogue and without debate. Every truth that you have to achieve might be also on your opponent's side, so on the side of the person that you do not agree in the beginning. So the importance of having a dialogue, the importance of debating, the importance of challenging your ideas and the ideas of the others are really, really, really necessary in order to achieve the best solution possible, and why not the truth? And that's why I want to debate, and that's why I like debating.
Sono Marta Agostinoni e frequento la facoltà di Economia e Gestione Aziendale. Dibatto perché sono convinta che noi giovani dobbiamo affrontare oggi questi problemi, poiché nel prossimo futuro saremo noi a dover intervenire per gestire questa realtà. Sta a noi infatti informarci e conoscerli ora, per poi un domani conviverci in modo resiliente.
Mi chiamo Valentina Galli, frequento la facoltà di Scienze Politiche e Sociali dell'Università Cattolica e dibatto perché dibattere per me è passione, è confronto ed è crescita con gli altri.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all. You all worked well. It wasn't easy to decide, but me and my colleagues, Paolo Scoccai and Fulvio Favola, in the end, we decided that the winner team is calm as we speak. Congratulations. About the reason. We really appreciated, above all, your good communication skills, the style of your speeches, the ability to persuade, the ability to keep people interested, the ability to involve people. So again, congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations, as we speak, you are going to the next stage of our competition. We are sorry, Pariseg, you made your best, you made a very great debate, and to all of you, our compliments. So thank you to all those who watched this debate today. In a few minutes, we will be back with the third debate of the day. So thank you very much and good afternoon. Good afternoon to those who are watching this debate on social platforms of Università Cattolica del Sacro Cuore. Now we are here for the third challenge of Exponi le tue idee. I would like to thank the three members of the jury who are here with us to judge the following debate. It's a pleasure to introduce to the teams and to the audience Professor Paolo Gomarasca, professor at the Faculty of Political and Social Sciences. Professor Gomarasca is here as the representative also for the other two members of the jury who are following the debate in the backstage. Professor Maria Grazia Sant'Agati, professor at the Faculty of Education Science, and Dr. Lorenzo Avello, alums of Università Cattolica, managing partner at Planeta Renewables. The two teams for this third challenge are Mampa Action Plan, the pro team, against 1987. So now let's start for this third debate. The topic of this challenge is high-income countries and resources for the climate emergency. So the captains will open the debate, starting always with the pro team. Then the first and the second speaker will take part into the discussion. So teams, you know the rules. Good luck to all and may the best team win. I would like to remind the topic of this challenge, high-income countries and the resources for the climate emergency. So, captain of the pro team Mampa Action Plan, if you are ready, please 3 minutes for you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. In order to demonstrate that high-income countries should allocate resources for the climate emergency in support of middle and low-income countries, me and my team decided to focus on 4 principal arguments that we are going to prove during this debate. Our first argument is historical responsibility. Historically, rapid economic development has been powered by fossil fuels. Since the Industrial Revolution in 1700, high-income countries have been responsible for emitting approximately 85% of the total of nitrous dioxide in the world. In the second argument, we are going to face the moral issue. We are facing climate inequality, where the countries that have and are still emitting most green gas houses to drive economic growth and enhance human well-being are the ones who are facing fewer consequences of the climate disasters, while the poorest countries, who have always and are still producing less, are more impacted by those effects. The third argument is the fact that high-income countries will be affected the same way as the low and middle-income countries, because in future there will be more climate immigrants, there will be a spike in temperature, to be precise 4 degrees by 2100, a spread of tropical disease and pandemic, as well as crop and water scarcity. Our last argument is that developed countries have more resources to develop low carbon and low cost solutions to stop the medium and low income countries from becoming fuel dependent, as they're entering now the economic growth. And their help could reduce the already existing economic inequality that has been made worse by global warming.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So the captain of Con team, if you are ready.
I'm ready.
3 minutes for you, please.
First of all, we would like to thank the people following us today, the judges, and everyone who gave us the chance to carry out this event. Today, me and my team will show and explain to you the reasons why we believe high-income countries should not allocate resources for the climate emergency in order to support middle and low-income countries. Of course, we realize that nowadays these countries are the ones more damaged by the climate emergency, and we see the consequence every day. But it's also clear that high-income countries allocating resources in order to support low-income countries is not the right solution. First of all, it has been proved how the allocation of resources and aid in less developed countries has had links to corruption. As stated by Friedman and Bauer, it is not the case that states which are recipients of aid often intensify their public consumption, which is often a symptom of clientism. And all of this without even bringing new investment to the country or improving the Human Development Index results. Even from the point of view of an African economist, Dambisa Moyo, aid has not only been an expression of authoritarian paternalism, but it has also caused damages. Aid increases corruption and starts a vicious circle that is hard to break. High-income countries provide money to corrupt governments. African policymakers perceive this money flow from abroad as permanent, so they become addicted to aid. And they no longer feel responsible for developing innovative strategies and profitable. Some elites end up getting the benefits from aid and not the population as a whole. Another major reason why we believe that high-income countries should not allocate resources in aid towards low and middle-income countries is that high-income countries are the main generation, as even the speaker of the opposite team said, of the pollution. And that pollution is the real emergency, not only for the high-income countries, but for the low and middle-income countries too. So that's where we believe resources should be allocated, in the reducing of domestic emissions and in the change toward less polluting forms of energy. And this, I repeat, it is not a prerogative that touches only the richest, but it concerns us all. So the entire world will benefit from it. Reducing pollution, changing our ways towards a more sustainable future is going to benefit not only the richest, but the middle and low-income countries too, and in a much more effective way than sketchy aid. Thank you.
Thank you very much, captains. So the first speaker of the pro team, if you are ready, 3 minutes.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. As our captain has stated before, we are going to start with demonstrating the historical responsibility of high-income countries. In fact, it is well known that historically, growing wealth has been closely tied to growing industry, meaning energy consumption and carbon emission. It is in fact proven that the historical concentration of industry and wealth in developed countries is due to the fact that those countries are responsible for having produced more than 79% of the global CO2 emissions from 1850 to 2011. In addition, recent data have revealed that till these days, the top 10 emitters, which are also the richest countries in the world, are still contributing most of the global CO2 emissions in order to maintain their lifestyles. In fact, annual per capita emissions in industrialized regions like North America and Europe are still far greater than per capita emissions in regions like Latin America, Africa, or the Caribbean, who contribute only 3% of emission of total each annually. Our second argument is the moral argument. Poor people are more exposed to the negative impact of climate change and have less resources to adapt. In fact, storms that are barely perceived in developed areas can sweep away poor homes entirely. There is no doubt that climate change is a global development issue. We have found enormous global inequalities where 20 of the 36 highest emitting countries already are, and will also be among the least vulnerable to the negative impact of future climate change. While most of the countries who have low or moderate greenhouse emissions are mostly touched. And future scenarios show that this inequality will significantly worsen by 2030. Climate change inequity is also related with economical output. Some countries, such as China and United States, are currently in a privileged positions of achieving economic growth to fossil fuel use, and they have few consequences of the resulting climate change. While many other countries, mostly island and African countries who are not producing as much, are suffering low economic growth and severe negative impact. For that reason, this is actually, if there are actually few incentives to the beneficiaries of climate inequity to meaningfully reduce or stop their greenhouse emissions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we give a little break to the teams. So participants, you can coordinate with your team, you can speak each other and rethink, reconsider your strategy if this is the case. We have seen in this debate two teams challenging each other, the pro team MAMPA Action Plan and the con team 1987, debating on high-income countries and resources for the climate emergency. This is Exponi, the debate contest promoted by WeWorld Onlus with the support of European Commission. And for this particular edition online 2020, the themes are linked to the Sustainable Development Goals, known as the Global Goals, that were adopted by all United Nations member states in 2015 as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030. Everyone is needed to reach these ambitious targets. The creativity, know-how, knowledge and technology and financial resources from all society is necessary to achieve the SDGs in every context. So now we can come back to our debate, our challenge. The break is over. So the second speaker of the pro team, if you're ready, you have 3 minutes. I think there is some problem? No? Okay, please, 3 minutes for you.
Yeah, sorry, I'm the first speaker of the con team. So I will start my speech stating that, firstly, thank you for the floor and thanks to my captain for expressing the points of our team very clearly. And effectively, what the first speaker said of the pro team about the historical responsibility of high-income countries and the major polluters and the technology capacity of those countries, that it's theoretically correct. And we agree that for the climate change issue and emergency, there should be a cooperation. But how should it be done? As my captain say, high-income countries for us should not give resources to low and middle-income countries. This is because it's not the right strategy. We think, indeed, that the right strategy is supporting the South-South cooperation in order to avoid the vicious circles of corruption and loss of funds, the authoritarian paternalism like a sort of white man burden, as the first speakers of the other team said, like with saying that is a moral duty, and the financial bilateralism too, that as Oxfam reports, it's only increasing the debt amount of low and middle-income countries. So the South-South cooperation actually is different from the speaker's one idea of aid because it's more democratic and more participated by those countries, low and middle income. Firstly, as the United Nations office stated, the South-South cooperation has multiple functions, such as technology transfer, capacity building, knowledge and resources sharing, and policy support, in order to achieve their own objectives. And secondly, as Zhuan said, is based on the principle of solidarity, not charity, respect for national sovereignty and non-interference, and not structural adjustments, national ownership and independence, and not neocolonialism, equality and non-conditionality, and not tied aid, and mutual benefit, and not the singular profit of one high-income country. So the differences from the North-South idea of cooperation are clear, and we can prove the major effectiveness of the South-South cooperation with its results. Let's look, for example, at the cooperation between China, Mauritania, Nepal, and Seychelles, and the implementation of the ecosystem-based adaptation as the UN reports, or the cooperation at city levels between India, Indonesia, and South Africa, that created the 2 solar cities and implemented mitigation through renewable energy, as the Technology Executive Committee said. And there are still many examples that can be taken, but to come to an end, Keep in mind that South-South cooperation, born in 1955 at Bandung's conference, is the right way out for low and middle income countries for this climate change challenge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The second speaker of the pro team, if you're ready,
yes,
3 minutes for you.
Thank you. As my captain said, our third argument is linked to the fact that high-income countries are at risk as much as poor countries, so they should allocate resources for their own interest. In fact, in the future, there will be more climate migrants, and according to the 2018 World Bank report, climate change could force over 1,030 million people to migrate by 2050, in particular in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And at the end of 2019, around 5.1 million people in 95 countries were living in displacement as a result of disasters that happened not only in that year, but also in previous years. Moreover, we can say that the climate change poses security risks because it degrades living conditions and human security. So we can affirm that climate change is a direct cause of conflict. For example, conflicts in Syria and Darfur are partially attributed to a drought that cause, first of all, massive agricultural failures, then displacement, and in the end, migration. Talking about spiking temperature, we can say that our world is getting dangerously warmer, but the temperature increase will cause heat waves. And as a result, the most vulnerable people could get sick from the heat and then die. And there are also a lot of examples that suggest that climate change has already caused the introduction of certain diseases in areas where they were not. And according to the UN, a 2 or 3 degrees Celsius increase on the global temperature could increase the number of people at risk of malaria. But climate change also hits water and crop scarcity. We know that water scarcity already affects every continent, in particular 1.2 billion people, and the crops the farmers grow for people to eat need adequate temperature and the right amount of water, otherwise they will die. Our last argument is focused on the impact of historical warming on economic inequality. There is growing evidence that poor countries are negatively affected by a changing climate. And according to Stanford University, the gap between the economic output of the world's richest and poorest countries is 25% larger today than it would have been without global warming. So the more countries warm up, the more drag there's going to be on their development. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The second speaker of the CON team, if you're ready, 3 minutes for you, please.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to set the record straight that we definitely agree that climate change causes all the challenges that the pro team has outlined. So that's exactly the reason why we believe that rather high-income countries just transferring resources in the form of aid to low and middle-income countries, what we should rather push for is South-South cooperation. That would also be a way for high-income countries to somehow address the historic responsibility that the pro team mentioned in their first speech. It is true that high-income countries are the greatest polluters today, and that's exactly why they should first focus on their own domestic policies to abate emissions, also because it is something that citizens in those high-income countries are actually pushing for because governments are not doing enough. And rather, they should be supportive of South-South cooperation. South-South cooperation, we believe, is cooperation between low and middle-income countries, and we believe is a better way for these countries, the most affected countries by climate change, to actually face climate change. And why is that so? Because the technology that is transferred between high and between middle-income countries is actually more appropriate to the context that we find in developing countries. So, for example, China, it is true that it's one of the biggest polluters, but it is also true that it is very committed to green energy and green policies in general. And it is also very committed in terms of South-South cooperation, in terms of climate emergency too. So for example, it cooperated with Ghana and Zambia on a technology transfer project in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme and Denmark, a high-income country, so that its own solar energy and solar technology could be transferred to Ghana and Zambia, so that they could allow to create the kind of green industry and also find a way forward in terms of facing the climate challenge. So we definitely recognize that these are problems, but we think that the way forward is not high-income countries allocating these resources, but cooperation between middle and low-income countries and high-income countries eventually supporting this new type of cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have listened to the speakers of each team. They have argued very well. They have expressed very important points of these issues. The topic is not so simple, but both teams have made interesting arguments and comments. Exponi today is an educational competition based on debate and discussion for students. Students' job is to explore and deepen the themes proposed that are related to global themes and current events, such as sustainability, human rights, environmental protection, development, migration, and inclusion. Exponi is an exercise to promote and support participation and active citizenship for students and professors. Two teams are challenging each other, in which captains as speakers argue and defend their theses related to global themes. Only one team will be the winner, showing the value of his performance and argumentation. Students must prove and demonstrate their ability, capacity, and their skills. So now the break is over and we come back to the debate, to the challenge. So now we can start with the free debate. Before you speak, guys, please introduce yourself.
I can. Okay, go.
Okay, no.
Hello.
Okay.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Patricia, sorry, and I'm the first speaker of the pro team, the MAMPA action plan. I would like to start with this free debate, thanking our opponent team for all the argument that they have presented. But I have few answers and few questions to those arguments. First of all, I would like to answer to the first argument. They actually stated that help high-income countries helping low-income countries is a form of charity, and they have stated that it is not a white man burden, and that climate change is not only a prerogative of high-income countries. I agree with them, which we did not say that high-income countries are the only one who should take charge of climate change, and we did not promote charity, and we did not once mention white man burden over the climate change argument. We think that the support from high-income countries does not equal charity or colonialism. We are not asking white-income countries to allocate all the resources, but we are asking them to help in fighting climate change, because low-income countries, first of all, are just now starting the development, because there are countries who most of them have a past of colonialism, which was actually something that didn't allow them to develop as the same past, the same way as the high-income countries. So they are now entering the developing process, and they do not have enough resources in order to develop new form of energy. So we are only asking for collaboration and technology exchange, technology support from the high-income countries, which does not mean, as our opponent team said that they should allocate technology, which is not the solution, because allocating technology actually that it's a stop to the development of the low-income countries, because they don't have the opportunity to develop their own technology and to expand the human capital. That's why we are asking for them to allocate resources so that those countries could be able to develop the new form of energy, clean energy, and also to expand the human capital. I also would like to respond, because the first speaker, the captain of the opponent's team, has said that high-income countries, I agree with us that high-income countries are still the highest emitting countries till this day. While the last speaker has said that, no, I'm sorry. The first speaker has said that low-income countries are the one emitting, while the last speaker has said that high-income countries are the one emitting more. So I would like to ask them, which one do they think are the highest emitting countries? And how did they get that China is committed to low pollution and new form of energy if China is the most polluting countries in the world? Thank you.
Hi, I'm the captain of 1987, and I would like to reply to some things they said. I'm sorry for the mic, but it doesn't really work well, so I'm going to stay like this. First of all, I would like to say that you all bring a lot of right arguments, like the problem of migration, the problem of illnesses, but the thing is that these are whole problems, but we can't really see a solution you bring them. Okay. Because you talk about the fact that I'm sorry. You talk about that the high-income countries have a responsibility, and we are right with this. There is a responsibility, but our problem we try to share with you is the fact that many times responsibility comes through money, and that generates more damages than it generates benefits. That's the problem. So we're not saying that high-income countries should not have responsibility and should not help, but how to help, because allocating resources generates corruption, generates damages. So why don't help by reducing our pollution? So we are still helping, but in other ways. So I think that it's more intelligent, I think, to use our resources in a way that can generate benefit, not only for the high-income countries, but also for the low and middle-income countries, but at the same time, without going to generate the damages, the corruption that we already talked about before. Thank you.
Yes, but can I add something? I agree with you, but aid and resources from high-income countries doesn't always mean corruption. We know that sometimes aid are corrupted, but it doesn't mean that it's always corruption. And then you can talk about China because you don't have the right data, because we don't know them. And China, as my crewmate said, is one of the highest countries, polluted countries in the world. So you can say that.
Yeah, can I just respond very quickly on the Chinese point? Because it is true that China is the first or the second polluter on the aggregate level. On a per capita level, it is nowhere near, for example, the United States or Canada, for example. And that's, how can I say, that's the kind of contradiction that we see very often when it comes to China and also in global development. But it is a fact that China not only supporting, China just pledged in September to become carbon neutral by 2060. This is quite an important signal that it is committed to fighting climate change. And let me remind you that after the US exited the Paris Agreement in 2017, it was basically China who kind of seemed to be the new leader in terms of climate change action because of its size, because of its economic power, and also all the technology that it is developing in terms of green cars or electric vehicles all around China. And despite, like, in terms of besides its own domestic policies, it also is actually supporting developing countries in green technology and solar panels and so on. I mean, the Ghana and Zambia example, it's a project that is going to end in this year. It's actually ending right now, and it was successful. And evaluation actually showed that, yes, technology was transferred, and it was not like China just went and transferred technology because it wanted to, but because Ghana and Zambia actually expressed their interest in knowing more about solar panels from China. So yes, it is true that there's a contradiction, but the two things are not exclusive. You can have both, and China is actually committed in this sense. And that's one way to go forward, I think.
Yes, but China's censorship shows so data aren't always related to transparency.
And a dictatorship cannot be used as an example in order to actually prove how much is being allocated toward resources toward climate change, because we do not think that China is doing enough, because it's also the most polluted countries in the world.
Yes, sorry, but the time is over. So thank you very much. We have just listened to the team's debate, the full team with his speaker and captains. After these few minutes, we will see the two teams come back, and each team will express with the captain the final speech in order to end this challenge. Exponi competition born in 2014-2015, and for this online edition 2020, the debate is linked to European project and climate change start Climate of Change, in which WeWorld Onlus is the front runner with other 16 European organizations and financed by European Commission as a part of a big project, the DR program, Development, Education and Awareness Rising Program. This kind of initiative, like Exponi le tue idee, wants to encourage force students to consider important phenomena like climate change, migration and development, and wants to create a movement of informed people ready to change their lifestyle and ask politicians to change their policy. So now the break is over and we can come back to the challenge. So now, captains, if you are ready, you can give your conclusive speech. So the captain of the pro team, if you're ready, you have 3 minutes, please.
Yes. We have efficiently explained that high-income countries have interest in allocating funds for the climate emergency because of their historical responsibility and because it's ethical, given that countries who are suffering the most are the same that have emitted the least since the Industrial Revolution. The effect of climate change impacts poor countries disproportionately via both a rise in economic damages due to the fact of extreme weather and a disproportionate cost of reducing emissions, adaptation and mitigation. This is why high-income countries should allocate the resources needed for them to build the infrastructures that are necessary to adapt and mitigate the effects of climate change, as well as develop new forms of clean energy. In addition, it has been proved that in the future, all countries, no matter their economic status, will equally suffer the effect of climate change. As we wanted to demonstrate, developed countries must commit to developing sources of international finance for loss and damages. This could include a climate change tax on carbon measures and, as a minimum, cancelling debt during climate-induced crises. Over the years, there have been many climate funding goals established globally, but unfortunately, they haven't always been met. I would like to end with this quote by an American environmentalist, Bill Ernest McKibben. We know much better now. We know that we've knocked the planet off its foundation and that our job, and for the foreseeable centuries, is to absorb the bounces as she rolls. We are dancing as nimbly as we can. So far, we haven't crashed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the captain of the CON team, if you are ready for the final speech.
Yeah.
Please go.
The opposite team brought us today valid arguments and valid issues, but my team still has valid doubts about their thesis, saying we don't see a solution coming from them to the problems we brought up. Yes, high-income countries have a responsibility, but as me and my speakers already stated, high-income country resources have much more chances to result in damages to low-income countries than benefits. Let's think about corruption. Let's think about stagnation and stillness of economies and development. No one is saying that helping others is something bad. But what's the point in a aid that not only is useless, but also causes even more problems? Why risk to throw away our resources in a circle of stagnation and corruption when we have more valid ways to improve the fight against climate change? We've talked about reducing pollution in high-income countries. We have talked about South-South cooperation. These are the real pillars that should guide our allocation of resources. High-income countries are the principal producers of pollution. As we all know, they aren't currently doing the best of jobs at reducing their emissions. So why should they be the one telling others how to do it? That's hypocrisy. Let's allocate resources in new sustainable forms of energy. Let's allocate resources in turning our productions in green industries. Let's begin the change in our homes before asking other governments to do what we ourselves can't. Our opponents said that we all have to help each other, and that's exactly what we are saying. We never said that high-income countries should not be involved in the fight against climate change. On the contrary, we're offering effective ways to do just that. Helping doesn't always have to be to sell out our resources, especially if the results are the one we already talked about. It's much more helpful, much more effective to back up South-South cooperation, to outline a more democratic, more participated, more effective help. We're not denying the relevance of a joint fight against climate change and its consequences, but sometimes the easy way, the old way, the traditional way, it's not the best. If we want to save our planet as a whole, we have to cooperate, but we have to cooperate in effective ways. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, captains, and thank you to all the participants. You made a very great debate. And now I think it's time to let the jury judge the two teams and the best performance. So thank you very much, and we will be back in a few minutes with the winner. Thank you.
I'm Enrico Fedele. I'm a student at the Faculty of Economics, and I debate because I believe that debating is a very close friend of progress and is the only way that we can find solutions together.
I'm Alessia Silipigni. I'm a student at the Faculty of Political and Social Science. I debate because I think that this could be not only a great way to express your personal opinion, but also a great opportunity to share your ideas with others. Actually, I strongly believe that ideas can be improved if questioned and tested. And for this reason, I debate, most of all, because I would like to consider things from another point of view.
Ciao, sono Francesco Modici, sono iscritto al secondo anno di Scienze Politiche e Relazioni Internazionali e dibatto perché voglio approfondire i temi importanti della nostra società ascoltando le opinioni degli altri e cercando di costruire una discussione concreta e non polemica.
Mi chiamo Valentina Galli, frequento la facoltà di Scienze Politiche e Sociali dell'Università Cattolica e dibatto perché dibattere per me è passione, è confronto ed è crescita con gli altri.
Okay, good afternoon to everybody. Very difficult to decide. Besides, the challenge is to dig into the real issues. But finally, we've reached a verdict. Having considered and assessed every criteria, in the end, we are pleased to announce that the winner is Team Con 1987. You did a great job connecting your conclusion to your introduction. This really helped us to see the big picture. And examples are perfect, impactful illustrations for your ideas. So congratulations to the winner team and thank you everyone for taking part in this creative challenge. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Congratulations 1987, you are going to the next stage of the debate. We are sorry, Mamba Action Plan, you made a very great debate, you made your best, and to all of you, our compliments. So thank you to all those who watched this debate, and in a few minutes we'll be back for the last challenge of this first day of Exponi le tue idee. Good afternoon. So, good afternoon to all those who are watching this debate live on the social platform of Università Cattolica del Sacro Cuore. Now we are here for the last challenge of Exponi. I would like to thank the 3 members of the jury who are here with us to judge the following debates. It's a pleasure to introduce to the teams and to the audience Professor Paolo Gomarasca, professor at the Faculty of Political and Social Sciences. Professor Gomarasca is here as the representative also of the other 2 members of the jury who are following the debate in the backstage. Professor Maria Grazia Santagati, professor at the Faculty of Education Sciences, and Dr. Marco Lucchin, alumnus of Università Cattolica, lobbying and investment consultant. The 2 teams for the last challenge of today are the Talking Heads and Naturalmente. So now I think we are ready for the last debate. The topic for the last challenge is demographic control, yes or no? I welcome the pro team, the Talking Heads, starting, he is the first of starter, and then the con team, the Naturalmente team. The captains will open the debate with an introduction, starting with the pro team. Then the first and the second speaker will take part into discussion. So teams, you know the rules. Good luck to all and may the best team win. I want to remind the topic for this last challenge, demographic control, yes or no. So, captain of the pro team, if you are ready, 3 minutes. 3 minutes for you, please.
Okay, thank you very much. So, my team and I are in favor of imposing to middle to low income countries strict birth control policies. And the reasons why we're in favor of such thesis are 3 mainly. So, first of all, is that the population growth rate currently is unsustainable globally. So it is in the common interest of everybody in this planet to reduce the population growth. Secondly, it is unsustainable at an individual level for many families and people in these developing countries. And thirdly, it is also not sustainable from a human's rights advocacy level. To expand on each of these points, first of all, it is unsustainable globally because an extremely high population growth, if it goes unchecked, it puts pressure on water, forests, and land, and in the Earth's atmosphere on sustaining such a large population. And so these large population that we have right now with 8 billion people, it is imposing a high toll on all these resources that are limited. Secondly, it is not sustainable at the family level because these children in these families of low-income countries, both for the children and the mothers, they have less possibilities of accessing education, water, and resources the more they are. A family with more children has less possibilities to provide for these children. And thirdly, from a point of view connecting to the idea of families and individuals in these countries, from a point of view of human rights advocacy, is unsustainable because families having a large amount of children and having huge families will not be able to provide for these children, provide an education, provide anything that is their right to have as children. And so also from a point of view of the mothers, being set in the role of a mother because they have so many children to take care of, it doesn't give them the opportunity to build themselves, to get an education, to get into the workforce, to have some time to develop as a member of society and not only as to be seen as mothers. So all these rights are being precluded to these people due to the fact that they have so many large families and the population growth goes unchecked and there are no policies in these countries. A great example could be South Sudan, which has one of the highest growth of population and also has a population of children from 0 to 14 of 46%, which is unbearable, which is way too big, and it weighs on the rest of the population of the country.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the captain of the CON team, if you're ready,
Yeah.
3 minutes for you, please.
Thank you. I speak on behalf of my team that is opposed to population control, as it raises several issues that prove without any doubt that the downsides overshadow any gains. I present 8 points that justify the position of my team that will help focus this debate. Population control violates ethical and religious concerns and interferes with individual freedom and human rights. Absence of a global agreement because of huge differences regarding value systems, technological development, and ideologies around the globe can never convince countries to agree to a one-size-fits-all. Differences in countries' population structures defeat global population control because of the variation in the age distribution across countries. Reduction in genetic diversity lowers the chances for human survival in the case of a severe pandemic, as one which we are presently experiencing. The concern often quoted is the need to prepare a better world for one's children. But has the world recognized that it is moving towards a world where there will be more grandparents than grandchildren? Nearly half of the world's countries are now facing a baby bust, meaning there are insufficient children to maintain their population size. Increase in sex-selected abortion, abandonment, infanticide has been observed in China since the one-child policy was introduced. Families that have more than the allowed number of children give them away since they fear the consequences of violation. This has also given rise to child trafficking and increased crime rates. Diminished economic growth has been linked with a disproportionate financial burden for the young having to provide for the old. Sadly, this has given rise to policies and practices that have resulted in disaster. For example, China's one-child policy, or the delayed marriage and double income no kids practice in developed countries. While they have resulted in declining birth rates, it has resulted in low fertility rates below the warning level. Countries will age dramatically, with as many people turning 80 as there are being born. Population control results in enormous social change. Who pays tax in a massively aged world? Healthcare for the elderly. Will people still be able to retire from work? Population control is more than just about reducing numbers. The world needs a fundamental rethink that will result in individual behavioral change, social transformation, and global politics based on cooperation, collaboration, and interdependence. Population control is not the solution. I rest my case.
Thank you very much. So now the first speaker of the pro team, if you are ready.
Yes, I am.
3 minutes for you, please.
Thank you. As our captain said before, we have to focus on common good. And in terms of common good, we should consider the concept of sustainability. This because the population growth nowadays is very important to say that this population increases also some difficult it requires scusatemi, sono andata un attimo in confusione. Okay. The population growth nowadays represents a problem. This because we would like to mention also the international conference adopted by the United Nations, which took place in 2015. And this international conference, which was the International Conference on Population and Development, is very important because the action program of this conference tries to enhance the empowerment of women, but also the reproductive health. And we have to remember that we are talking about the control policies in developing countries
where there is still the absence in some cases, in different cases, there is still the absence of gender equality. And at the same time, there is still, in several cases, women are forced to marry and have children when they are very young. And for this reason, we would like also to remember the principle contained in the 2030 agenda, also because these control policies could be helpful for the application of the 2000 agenda goals. And this principle says that no one should be left behind. And for this reason, we have to remember that this principle can be implemented if we don't consider the possibility to apply these control policies. And in the end, we will also like to remember that it is at stake the current capacity of our planet and the fact that our planet can maintain this current capacity anymore. And so for this reason, we have to consider also the loss of biodiversity and the negative effects on biodiversity, because the loss of biodiversity increases not only energy and food insecurities, but also our personal vulnerability as human beings. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the first speaker of the CON team, if you're ready, 3 minutes for you, please.
Thank you. So we are debating a very delicate argument, speaking about the limitation of children's birth. Life cannot be treated as an object, and the natural procreative power of women should be guarded instead of prevented. So I ask you, which relevance do we associate with the value of life, and which message are we going to spread through this demographic control policy? Limiting children's birth does not belong to a tolerant society, since it would affect ethical and religious fundamental values. It concerns, first of all, fundamental rights. An individual should feel free to give life and to build a family. And furthermore, there's no higher power who can tell what's right and what's wrong. For some religious groups, for instance, the Hutterites, the number of children is an important value to give life. Indeed, they traditionally have a very high birth rate, which has decreased over the time from around 10 children per family to around 5 in 2010. Another key point is the respect of different cultures. The respect of human rights and national sovereignty in the areas of population policy, family planning, and reproductive health are some crucial points upon which the nations of the world agreed during the 25th anniversary of the International Conference of Population and Development. So, demographic control can have serious consequences, as we have seen in the case of China with its one-child policy, which has turned a bit disastrous. On the one hand, the prevention of births, and on the other one, the huge rate of abortions of girls, which are causing today lack of girls, especially in some regions of China, where there is a deep gender imbalance. In conclusion, there are valid alternatives to birth reduction, which can be taken in consideration. First of all, an overall higher education level. In India, for example, there is a disparity in birth rates between the impoverished northern states and the more developed southern regions. In the south, women are more likely to be literate and educated, and the tendency is to have fewer births. Secondly, the reinforcement of women's rights, which could induce them to pursue a career. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we give a little break to the teams, so participants, you can coordinate with your team and rethink, reconsider your strategy if this is the case. Now we have seen this last debate with the talking against naturalmente team, and they challenge about a theme, demographic control, yes or no? This is Exponi, the debate contest promoted by WeWorld Onlus with the support of European Commission. And for this edition, online edition 2020, the themes are linked to Sustainable Development Goals, known as the Global Goals, that were adopted by all United Nations members in 2015 has a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030. Everyone is needed to reach these important targets. The creativity, knowledge, know-how, technology, and financial resources from all of society is necessary to achieve these SDGs in every kind of contest. So now I think the break is over, so we can come back to our last challenge with the themes. So the second speaker of the pro team, the talking hands.
Yes, it's me.
Yes, if you're ready, 3 minutes for you.
Yes.
Please.
Thank you. So, as the captain of the con team said, the problem for them is aging countries. Well, I think we need to focus on the developing countries that are not experiencing such aging population rate as they said. Plus, they mention the problem of paying taxes, but I think that taxes is more of an economical thesis, and we're not talking about economical growth, but we're talking about sustainability. So I think we need to focus on this theme. Plus, I think that talking about ethical and religious themes is not very correct, because I think that religion is a part of personal life, and it is complicated to mix it with data and with an important theme such as sustainability. And also, we're not as a team, we're not going against family in general. We're just saying that fewer children in the family will be able to access more resources, as resources such as in education, food, water, land. And also, we think that the condition of women will be improved, because in China, for example, lots of women and girls are experiencing university and also a much important level of education. So I think that it is important not to go against families, but to reduce numbers of children, because for the future of the sustainability of the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now the second speaker of the CON team.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you. I would like to remind us that demographic control by itself does not solve the climate problem. Even if more people would live on the planet, as some prediction based on continuous low fertility rates say, then the conditions of the environment depend still on how many emissions are produced, how resources are used, and how people live. And when it comes to emissions, there seems to be a connection to person's income, and emissions increase with wealth. So an important point is how developing economies are supported in their transition to developed countries, as they will have to pass the phase of industrialization. A lot of resources are needed and pollution is expected. So far, However, the industrialized countries have not realized the financial contribution that they had promised under the Paris Agreement in 2015, even though it is also in their interest that emissions are held low globally. Because climate changes are not only affecting the local, but the global. Providing new and clean technologies, developed countries could contribute to the reduction of emissions in developing countries. And if instead of imposing on other people that they should have not many children, like Western countries have done, linking development aid to the successful reduction of birth rates in developing countries, if instead we change our consumption behavior in an economic-friendly way and produce less waste, in that way we can contribute to a lower per capita material use and resource use. As for example, by consuming organic and local food. In organic farming, there are no chemical fertilizers and pesticides, and therefore we do not harm the environment. Local products can have a lower carbon footprint as production, purchase, and consumption take place in the same area. If we get rid of our throwaway culture, then we waste less and leave more resources for other people and for future generations. And this is also in the sense of the SDG 12, responsible consumption and production. Let me sum up. To solve the climate issue, let us all reduce emissions by consuming less in numbers and more in quality. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have listened to the speaker of each team. They have argued very well, and they have expressed very important points for these issues, even if the topic is not so easy, but both teams have made interesting arguments and comments. Exponi le tue idee is an educational competition based on debate and discussion for students. Students' job is to explore and deepen the themes proposed that are related to global themes and current events, such as human rights, sustainability, environmental protection, development, inclusion, and migration. Exponi is also an exercise to promote and support participation and active citizenship for students and professors. Two teams are challenging in a debate in which captains and speakers argue and defend their position to specific global themes. Only one team will be the winner, showing the value of his performance and argumentation. Students have to prove and demonstrate their ability and capacity and specific skills. So now the break is over, and we can start with one of the last part of this challenge, the free debate. So please, guys, remember to introduce yourself before speak. So please, let's go.
I'm captain of the Talking Heads, and I want to speak because I wanted to mention points that have been made by the opponent team. And on the last part, mainly, we're not saying that the child policy or policies over family or reducing family growth or population growth is the only way that climate change can be reverted. That is not our point. We agree that that is part of reducing climate change, that we should consume less and that we should reduce our emissions. That is actually one of the reasons because we want to reduce population. Because with a bigger population, with a greater population, it is inevitable that emissions will increase, that consumption will increase. You cannot have these populations increase and not have emissions increase or have consumption increase. Like right now, these countries, especially that have high population growth, have really low incomes, so they don't consume and emit as much as we do because they are underdeveloped. In the future that we want, where everybody is at the same level, where we can have societies that are developed and everybody has a possibility, we want everybody to have the same possibility as we do. We do not want a world right now where yes, we do stop, but we keep these populations growing and reducing emissions without having all these people that cram states where there is no way, no technology to reduce emissions, no way economically possibly to keep down waste and consumption. Yeah, so that is my point regarding that.
Can I answer to that, please? Sure. Because to me, it seems we agree on the fact that we want to reduce emissions, and that's fine, but we do not want to impose on anyone that they have to reduce the number of children they have. And so for me, your approach sounds like a second colonization. And in addition to what was said before, to China, that through the one-child policy, more women and girls had access to education. I do not think that it is the right approach to force someone to have only one or two children or whatever you want to do, but to improve the education level itself. And then as a consequence, as we have seen in India, for example, family sizes will also go down, but not the other way around. Thank you.
Okay, if I can answer quickly to the last part. I just want to say that the reason why you said that it was disastrous, the one-child policy in China, and I can reference this with a Guardian article that was published last year, is that right now they introduced a two-child policy to augment the births. And why? Because now it is now for girls, for women, young women, they were only children, and they're used to being from generations of only child, so they do not want to have a family. They would rather go study, they would rather go work, because they saw their mothers, how they lived their life having only one children. They saw from their grandma what they could do having only one children. So they had time to go out and study and work. So I don't believe that this is like the reason why they say it's disastrous is from an economic standpoint. Is because now China is afraid there will be not enough growth. They will not have enough population to be a superpower and overcome United States for a long period of time. So this is, I mean, if we're talking about economic growth and being enslaved by economic growth, because this is where our society is going, that economic growth is everything, then yes, it was disastrous, but this is not the point that we're making. We're making that from a sustainability point of view, this is the way also to reduce economic growth. And plus, from the one-child policy in China, we can learn a lot. We can see also the time that it has been put in place. Many scientists said it was put in place for too long. It was put in place from 1979 to 2013. It was way too long. It should have been caught earlier. And the effects that are now make it called disastrous or sound disastrous would have been there. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. Just one thing. In addition to what my captain said, the one-child policy, the policy is not the problem. It wasn't the problem itself, but the problem was how long it lasted. So if maybe the one-child policy was stopped before, let's say in the early 1990s, probably that would have made a difference.
Could I answer now, please?
Sure.
Yeah. I'm the captain of Naturalmente, and I would like to mention that in no situation is it ever justified to rob an individual of their human rights and their choices. The differences in ideologies across the world differ, and it's not possible to implement the same practices and policies in each country. China is communist, and they have the ability to implement policies without the approval of their general population. In a democratic nation, this would not work. As well as sustainable practices, that the move towards sustainable practices is what we should be focusing on, not reducing the population or restricting an individual in their choice of having children or not. Education levels can be improved. That is the priority of each government, is to increase the education, to increase women's rights, so that women have the opportunity to choose. It's not a case that a woman in China has seen how her grandmother or her mother has lived. That is an individual choice every person will make for themselves. And it is not only pertaining to China. It can be in an underdeveloped country or a developed country. But the difference is that if a human has their own individual choice, that is what matters, because they have access to the right education, the right facilities, the right information, and a safer environment for them to live.
Yeah, I can answer that if nobody else wants to from my team. Yep.
Sure, you can go.
Yeah, okay. So I'm the captain of Tokenet, yeah, I forgot to mention before. Anyway, what I want to say is that the fact that it cannot be introduced in a democratic country, that is false. I mean, it cannot be introduced in the way that it was in China, obviously, because a democratic country is not like in China communist, but it can be introduced in other ways. Sure, it might be unpopular amongst the electorate. Sure, you will not get votes if you introduce such policy, but it can be introduced. There are laws that can be put in place, obviously not in the same way as China, because obviously only in another communist country that could be the case, but it is implementable. The only reason would be because you would lose popularity amongst people that would vote you. Sure, okay, that could be the case. And that would be bad for the eventual candidate that puts forward such a policy, but it doesn't make it impossible to happen.
That does not only affect the individual candidate that imposes that policy, it affects the entire nation as a whole and the social structure. So yes, it can be introduced, it can be implemented, but it will also be met with widespread protests and riots. As a democratic nation, it is the priority of that nation to be by the people, for the people, and of the people. So if a policy does not work with the general population, it will be taken down by the people.
Thank you very much, guys. The time is over. Thank you very much. So we have just listened to the two teams debate, the full team with his speakers and his captains. After these few minutes, we will see the two teams come back, and each team will express with their captain the final speech in order to end this challenge. Exponi competition born in 2014-2015, and for this online edition 2020, the debate is linked to European project End Climate Change, Start Climate of Change, in which WeWorld Onlus is the front runner with other 16 European organizations and financed by European Commission as a project, a DEAR program, Development, Education and Awareness Rising program. This kind of initiative, like Exponi le tue idee, wants to encourage and force the students to consider important phenomena like climate change and migration, and wants to create a movement of informed people ready to change their lifestyle and ready to ask a politician to change their policy. So now we can come back to the debate. And for the last part of this debate, so captains, if you are ready, you can give your conclusive speech. So the captain of the pro team.
Yes, I'm here. So thank you. To give the conclusive speech, I wanted to mention, as said before, that to make the future more sustainable, sure, we have to give up some more freedoms. Sure, the freedom of the individual has to come less for the greater good of the common, for the good of the whole country or of the whole world. Of course, sacrifices will have to be made. There is no doubt about that in every level. That is the only way that we can move towards a more sustainable future. Because yes, if we leave our wants and needs unchecked, or the wants of a human unchecked, everybody's happy, it is better. We don't have to give up any freedom. But then it is unsustainable. We've seen it. We've done it for years. This is what has been going on for the past decades, leaving it unchecked and not taking away any freedoms from anyone. Where did it bring us? It brought us to this, to nowadays, where it is unsustainable and we cannot go anywhere with this. And to take back from the last point that we were discussing before in the debate, I also wanted to add that this hypothetical fact that it would come with riots and people would not accept these policies, this is just, I don't know, it's just hypothetical. This is something that we could discuss all day and not come to a solution, because making hypotheticals is not the way. And also, the policies do not have to be these policies that we impose, one-child policy or two-child policy that has been done. It can also be encouraging and educating people over contraceptive methods or abortion that has been legal in democratic countries for years now, decades. So it is not true that only in dictatorships or communist countries this would be effective. In democracy also can be effective and it can be done. And it can also help to boost economic growth, because this also the theory that taxes will never be paid by anyone because the population is aging. It is not true. This is not the case only of really developed already countries such as our countries, and not the countries we're talking about and we mentioned throughout the discourse. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the captain of the CON team, if you're ready, 3 minutes for you, please.
We've heard from my opponents reasons blaming too many people for the world's problems. This is like blaming too many people this is like blaming too many trees for causing forest fires. Population control as an answer to the world's problems focuses on narrowly treating one symptom rather than dealing with the root causes. I reiterate 8 points from this debate that reinforce the position of my team against population control, particularly in the context of climate change. Population does not cause climate change. A zero-emissions economy with a shift to renewable energy, not reduction in human population, is really the most urgent task we face. The world is not full up. While population is growing, the rate of this growth is actually slowing down. If we move to a very different food system with diversified and organic farming, which produces a balanced mix of plant foods, the shift to sustainable farming will also cut greenhouse gas emissions. Education, health, social justice, and women's equality is the best contraception. Raising living standards globally, eradicating hunger and poverty, improving healthcare, providing access to education, and achieving greater equality for women all result in lower birth rates and ensure a safer climate with global justice. The climate emergency demands immediate transformative action. We cannot look for answers through control. Population arguments downplay the collaborative potential of humans to meet the needs of people and the planet. Population control does not tackle the root causes of social ills. Simplistic population theories have been advanced to explain the existence of poverty, hunger, famine, disease, war, racism, and unemployment. Population control has a disturbing history. It has never met with universal acceptable environmental or humanitarian outcomes. Population control narrowly looks only at the quantity of human beings to find a solution. This narrow vision makes it a divisive policy. The problems of the world we are really concerning is the improvement of and quality of human life. I come from India, which is estimated to have the largest population in the world by 2027. India has not followed a policy of coercion and population control. It is converting a demographic disaster into a demographic dividend, focusing on 5 points that my team has outlined, namely improving education levels, strengthening women's rights, adjusting our consumption behavior to reduce waste, shifting to a more responsible and sustainable global human behavior, and improving health and social security. If we focus on this, we can create a movement of hope and solidarity strong enough to penetrate national borders and establish a collaborative environment for future generations. As Mahatma Gandhi said, there is enough in the world to satisfy everyone's need, not everyone's greed. Thank you.
So thank you very much, captains. Thank you to all participants. You made a very great debate. So now I think it's time to let the jury judge the debate and the two teams and decide which is the best performance. So thank you very much, and we will be back in a few minutes with the winner of this last challenge.
My name is Florian Seiko, and I'm a student of economics. The faculty that I attend is the International Management faculty, and I study at Piacenza at University of Sacro Cuore, Cattolica University, to be more precise. I want to debate, and I like to debate, because I think that in order to find some solution to the complex problems that our society is facing today and in these days, so we have the problems related to for example, COVID-19, which is more present nowadays. We have the problems related to the environment. So all of these problems require complex and difficult solution, and you cannot achieve those solutions without dialogue and without debate. Every truth that you have to achieve might be also on your opponent's side, so on the side of the person that you do not agree in the beginning. So the importance of having a dialogue, the importance of debating, the importance of challenging your ideas and the ideas of the others are really, really, really necessary in order to achieve the best solution possible, and why not the truth? And that's why I want to debate, and that's why I like debating.
Sono Marta Agostinoni e frequento la facoltà di Economia e Gestione Aziendale. Dibatto perché sono convinta che noi giovani dobbiamo affrontare oggi questi problemi, poiché nel prossimo futuro saremo noi a dover intervenire per gestire questa realtà. Sta a noi infatti informarci e conoscerli ora, per poi un domani conviverci in modo resiliente.
I'm Enrico Fedele. I'm a student at the Faculty of Economics, and I debate because I believe that debating is a very close friend of progress and is the only way that we can find solutions together.
Okay, good afternoon to everybody. After careful discussion, we've reached a decision. We very much appreciated your strong arguments, but also your politeness. And in the end, we are pleased to announce that the winner is Conteam, naturalmente. You really know your facts, and they were important facts that went beyond common knowledge. And let me say also that you seem at home on the platform in posture and gesture. So congratulations to the winner team, and thank you everyone for taking part in this challenge. Thank you very much.
So congratulations, naturalmente, you are going to the next stage of the debate. We are sorry, the talking heads, you made a very great debate and you did your best. And to all of you, our compliments. So now I want to thank you all those who watched the debate. This was the last debate for today. I want to thank also Professor Claudia Rotondi, who strongly promoted this collaboration between our university and WeWorld Onlus. So thank you very much. Tomorrow, the tournament will enter the second stage with 3 debaters between the 4 teams that today won. So we will see you tomorrow at 3:30. Thank you very much and good evening. Bye.